a bedridden devil. His army of clones at his jaw did they revel. They came after us, crossed the borderline, took all our offers to send down their mines, while the feathered beast read out Dear Bob. So cried the trekker, this madness must stop. Toss a coin to your trekker, oh planet of plenty, oh planet of plenty, oh. Toss a coin to your trekker, oh planet of plenty. The vile Kurogans fled and hid what they had stole. The orphan was shackled and kept in the cold. But he did not relent. The Turd King was hell-bent. He slayed the Kurogans, then to Bird's house he went. And with a mighty blow he struck that button red. The mighty bird folded in two by his bed. That's my epic tale, our champion prevailed. So let's drink a toast with some Romulan ale. Toss a coin to your trekker, oh planet of plenty, oh planet of plenty, oh. Toss a coin to your trekker, oh planet of plenty, oh planet of plenty, oh. Toss a coin to your trekker, oh planet of plenty, oh planet of plenty, oh. Toss a coin to your trekker, the great turd of Stanley.
Making your way with the nerds today takes everything you've got. Taking a break from hating JJ sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to just get laid? Sometimes you wanna go where all the Trekkies know your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna be in a galaxy where Star Trek isn't lame. You wanna go where everybody knows your name.
I need someone I can trust at my side. Someone whose loyalty I can count on.
Hello, world.
I ask you to join me on this mission. As my friend. And as my first officer.
Death to Corona!
Oh man, I tell you. Yeah, this has been a day. Oh, by the way, Mr. Miles found some recently uncovered deleted footage from Deep Space Nine. Besides that little clip that we just saw, there's this one that's really, really interesting. I don't remember this scene, but apparently it's completely legit.
Get with the rope. 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 Get with the rope.
So yeah, so it's so it's really interesting that Martok is just really emphatic about death to Kuroga. Now I'll get to the chat in a minute, I promise, guys. But first, I do want to talk about something, because something it's really bugging me, and and the thing is, I don't want to pick a fight with anybody, much less someone that I know and respect, like the person I'm about to kind of pick a fight with, but I have to stand for what I believe is truth, and truth trumps pretty much everything. And that is the recent video put out by my friend and a person I respect, Doomcock, showing what he calls absolute proof of the failure of Picard. And what he uses is Google Analytics to try and show how horrible Picard is doing. And then he goes on this tangent about how Picard is like the worst show ever, basically. And here's the thing. I don't have a problem with Doomcock not liking Picard. That's completely up to him. If he doesn't like it, that's fine. But let me show you the analytic graph. It's not exactly the same, but it's as close as I could approximate to what he brought up. This is the actual chart that he was using. And as you can see, when Picard premiered on January 23rd, that it peaked and then it dropped significantly down, and then on the next and then a week later it was at about half of where it was when it premiered. And so looking at this chart, and he had Star Trek in there. Well, fine. I mean, the Picard was the highest term. So if we put Star Trek in the chart as well, you can see it's the same basic pattern. All right, it's nothing, as far as the pattern is there, right? Where it peaks on the day it premieres and then it drops to roughly half of where it was before. That's what. And Doomcock was saying this is absolute proof of the miserable failure of Picard. Okay, fine. I'm going to show you another chart. Not the exact same time frame, but you'll notice the pattern looks almost exactly the same. This is for The Expanse. All right, so when The Expanse premiered, same thing. It peaked on the day it premiered, and within a few days, it was at half. All right, this is not an unusual pattern. And by the way, here's where it really gets interesting, because I know a lot of people, including myself, think The Expanse is a far better show than Picard. But guess what? When we put The Expanse and Picard on the same chart, Picard dwarfs The Expanse's interest by a factor of about 2 to 1. All right, which means that Picard, after it dropped, is where The Expanse was at its peak. Now, this is just analytics of interest on Google. That's all it is. It is not ratings. It is not view counts. It is in no way, shape, or form evidence to the relative success or failure of a show. All these analytics show is how often do people search Google for these terms, right? And so Picard obviously has generated a lot more interest than The Expanse. Why? Because Picard is part of a much more familiar franchise. People have known Picard for a very long time, etc. But it's infuriating to me to have someone try to declare Picard a failure because the pattern for it is, quite frankly, typical. Looking up.
Someone whose loyalty I can count on. I ask you to join me on this mission. As my friend. And as my first officer.
Death to Caroga!
Thank you, Mr. Miles, for that, by the way. That helped cheer me up, but I'll get rid of that. And
Bird of Prey 5 says, Kapla, JG. Caroga still believes in you, even if you don't believe in us. It's a good day to smash a turd. Hell, Caroga.
Death to Caroga.
Yeah. By the way, and some of you may know that Bird of Prey has been making a laughably big deal out of the fact that at one point the good general did in fact say, "Hail Kuroga." That and yeah, I'm not going to deny facts are facts, but what's interesting is that once again, thanks to the incredible work of Mr. Miles, we managed to uncover a little bit of context, and that's the important thing, is we have to understand the context of when something is said and what it ultimately means, right? So we can see right here.
Martok's the changeling!
All hail Kuroga.
So yeah, it was clearly the changeling version of Martok that was hailing Kuroga. All right, so now that I've gotten that off my chest as far as the Doomcock thing, and I'm sorry to anybody that's a big fan of Doomcock. I love Doomcock myself, but I'm sorry, that video, in my opinion, was misleading at best. He may not have done that intentionally. He may genuinely believe that looking at those analytics is absolute proof that Picard is a failure, but then he didn't do the research to see that what the pattern that you see Picard is not atypical. And by the way, if you look at a lot of shows, not just Picard or The Expanse, but a lot of shows, the peak interest for the show is always the day the show premieres. That's just the way it is. All right, so Thomas says hi, Cinnabon says hi, Rock Solid says first, Carlo says hi, hope everyone is well, Mr. Miles says first, Bird says Kapla, how you doing, Bird? Rock Solid says turn on the mic and rip up your outline. Wow. Cinnabon says responding to Doomcock video, anti-trekker. Well, I kind of already answered that. Jeff says hi. Peter says, hey there, anti-trekker and all. And by the way, I was thinking about doing a full-on video just kind of breaking down where I think Doomcock made his mistake, but then I figured, you know what, people are going to think I'm just trying to pick a fight and start YouTube drama, so I figured I'd talk about it on a live stream just to get it off my chest and be done with it. And I did leave a comment on Doomcock's video. Greetings, oh great Turdistani, Picard discussion, make it so. Yeah, and by the way, I think that it's a little too early to call the show a success or failure anyway. I mean, I'm not calling it a triumphant return of Trek. I want to see the whole season first. But I'm also not going to call it a failure until I see the whole season. And Thomas puts a $1.99 in the chat. Thank you so much, Thomas. And says, Kuroga is a failure. Indeed, that is indisputable truth. Jeff says, we have bad weather down here in the west central Texas, and the government facilities, which I work for one, have all shut down. I have the day off. Wait, the government shuts down when you get bad weather? I need to move to frickin' Texas and get a government job. Captain Trek says, greetings. How you doing, my friend? And there goes the chat jumping on me. All right, Live with Matthew says, hey, Trigger and all, good day to go live. Yes, it's a good day for live. And Valor puts $2 in, says, Phantom Menace only does enough research to serve themselves. Now, I appreciate the sentiment there, Valor, is what you're commenting about, but keep in mind, Phantom Menace kind of includes me, so my whole response was based on doing some of the research. But the problem is that we, and this is not unique to Doomcock or anybody else, or not even, and it's not unique to the Phantom Menace. It's a little thing called confirmation bias. We try to find the facts that support our narrative, right? It's like you see in religion all the time. People will use the same book to justify both sides of an argument. Why? Because we try to find little bits and pieces that support our side, and we try to ignore anything that doesn't. That's just, unfortunately, a thing we do. Peter says, never in a million years did I think you'd be on a podcast with J.G. Hertzler. Me neither, man. Me neither. That was so cool. Rock Solid says, Anti-Trigger just said Trump. I'm triggered. Did I say Trump? I don't remember saying Trump, but okay. Trump. Dan23 says hi. Of course, I probably just got demonetized for saying the T word. Berta Prey says, whatever you don't set the Trek time zone to 1 year and then add the Orville. Oh, I'm sure the Orville probably dwarfs the Star Trek entry. Well, I don't know. I actually never tried to compare those two. But that was, but the point of it is that to declare Picard a failure this early is stupid. So Doomcock is peddling newspeak. In a sense. So I mean, he's basic. I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to know what's going on in Doomcock's mind. And Zarkon throws $5 in. Thank you so much, my friend. Says, Picard quit Starfleet because he was ordered by Starfleet plus 14 other members worlds commit war crimes. Very not like Starfleet. No, he wasn't ordered to commit war crimes. You confuse me there, Zarkon. And seriously, where do you see anywhere in there that Picard was ordered to commit war crimes? Because that's not anywhere in there. Oh, you're saying the Orville rarely registers against... I didn't even know that. Dang, I should have done that, Bird. Thank you for... I didn't know that. Did you just look at that, or did you know that beforehand? Because I did not know that. Carlos says, where is Discovery in this anti-trigger? How did it do? And I think most will get their information from YouTube rather than Google. Well, true. Discovery peaked higher than Picard back when it first premiered, but hasn't come anywhere close to that since. So Discovery's analytics are actually, after the peak, are really, really low. But, yeah. The Expanse was notoriously slow to take off, by the way. Well, yeah, but here's the thing. I love The Expanse. I'm certainly not knocking The Expanse. The point is, that was The Expanse season 4 that I was showing you, right? So after 3 seasons of The Expanse, the peak interest for season 4 was roughly half of Picard's. I didn't think they wore shirts like that in the 23rd century. Well, okay. Carlos says, sorry about saying your tattoo is a rub-on, but I'm jealous. Have no hard feelings, I hope. No. Everybody knows it's a real tattoo. And let me tell you, that one actually was not nearly as bad as the one on the back of my leg. That one didn't hurt too bad. Mr. Miles, the best head of Turtistani intelligence... Tara says, Mr. Miles is the best head of Turtistani intelligence we've ever had. Indeed. It was very good that he was able to uncover those recorded documents from Kurogan. Kuroga tried to delete it off their servers, but Mr. Miles is an expert at digital reconstruction. Jeff says, oh, this is so good with Martok and the Changeling Martok. Well, it's all true. What can I say? Changeling Martok supports Kuroga. JD says, Picard setting viewership records here in Canada. Is it? I don't know. I haven't, because in Canada, it's actually being broadcast, right? So you could actually track it. That's one thing. I don't like it being behind a paywall. That I'll agree with Doomcock on. I do not like that. But, it is what it is. Alexander is in the house, still ready for war with the Phantom Menace. Well, Alexander, I'm not going to war with the Phantom Menace. Zachary says, hello, Edgechecker. How are you? I think Picard is decent so far. I agree. I'll wait and see the entire season play out before giving my grade. Yeah, it's way too early to call it a fail or a success. Aberjam says, glad you're still able to stream during the day, at least a couple times a week. 4 a.m. is just not doable for me. Yeah, believe me, I'm not thrilled with my current work schedule, but I gotta make lemonade where I can. And Zarkon says, in the interview, episode 1, Picard said he left because he was ordered to not render humanitarian aid to Romulus. I didn't catch it my first viewing. Well, here's the thing. That's not a war crime. So you got to make sure you got to use those types of terms carefully. Yeah, Picard left Starfleet because he felt that it was morally wrong for Starfleet to not render aid to Romulus. Now, of course, at the same time, there was the attack on Mars going on. And so this is where I think Picard was wrong. And I doubt they're going to get into it in the series, but they should, because this would actually make it kind of interesting, is that this would be the equivalent of someone basically saying it is wrong that the United States government did not render aid to Saudi Arabia the day after 9/11. All right. So it's like, no, we got more important things to worry about. Mars was just incinerated. We have more important things to worry about than the Romulans. And Picard felt that that was morally wrong. But nowhere was Picard ordered to commit war crimes, right? That would be like torturing people, killing civilians, stuff like. No, there was none of that, and that's what I'm saying. And so you got to be careful about your terminology. Peter says, well, as we have seen, Andrew, the British and American public don't care about facts and evidence anymore. Not gonna even touch that. Oh, man. Yay! There's Sarkon's first super chat. Thank you, my friend. So, Jaeger says, I know Starfleet security was never the greatest, but yeah, they seem non-existent in Picard. Public commentary on the police or plot holes. Well, first of all, I'm not sure why you would say that. I mean, if you say that in the brief time that Picard and Daj were in the fight with the Tal Shiar subgroup Romulan guys, that the police didn't show up that quickly, well, they were in a unobserved area, and the cameras had obviously been tampered with. And so I'm not sure exactly what you mean there, Jaeger, because I don't think that it's a commentary on the police, and I don't think it's a plot hole either. I think that the Tal Shiar subgroup is doing their job. No, the Orville barely registered. I already read that. Alexander says, Doomcock did a twit about Black Widow ruined because she's in a group of women. It's idiotic when we know the concept of Black Widow and also with the Red Guardian in it. Well, as far as the Red Guardian, I don't know if he's going to be good or bad. He looks like he's a fun character, but not a serious character. And I didn't see Doomcock's tweet about Black Widow ruined because she's in a group of women. If he did say that, then maybe he doesn't understand the whole concept of the Red Room and where Black Widow's from. I don't know. But I didn't see that tweet, so I can't really comment on it. And let's see, it was not committing war crimes, it was stopping aid to a former enemy. Yeah, and it wasn't even a former enemy, actually, Vile, because based on what the reporter was saying, the Romulans were still considered an enemy. Are you not a part of the... you are not a part of the Phantom Menace, though. You are more along the lines of a rational fan than an irrational Phantom Menace. Well, but you're putting a judgment on the Phantom Menace suggesting that you have to be irrational to be a member of the Phantom Menace. The Phantom Menace, there's a lot of people in the Phantom Menace. Some are rational, some are not. Honestly, I think that Doomcock and a couple of others have gone a little too far when it comes to Picard. But I don't think that Doomcock is Batwoman crazy or anything. I just think that he's, I don't know, a little tainted. Watch any of those Major Grin videos where he has clips of several Next Gen episodes in contradiction to Picard. I have not seen Major Grin episodes or videos where he does that. However, I'm actually working on a video where I'm going to show how Picard actually lines up fairly well with Next Gen. And by the way, finding something where something was one way in one and one way in another that are contradictory is not necessarily a plot hole, because you have to keep in mind that Next Generation was, 30 years ago in universe? Or further than that? I think about 30 years ago. Because Nemesis was 20 years ago, so how much time between Next Generation and Nemesis? You're talking about a lot of history there. I knew that, but didn't see making it public would be advantageous. Gotcha. Greetings, Andrew, the fake leader of the Turkestan, guilty of war crimes and fellow nerds. I'm not guilty of war crimes. Didn't hurt anybody. I will call Picard a success in a specific ways. The first 2 episodes are more successful with me than anything we've seen from Trek in a long time. That includes the Kelvinverse. I will agree with you on that, Miles. I think it is the best Trek we've gotten since Star Trek 2009, for sure. Asian Muslim wife born in the USSR is the best choice, says Alexander, as usual. A real rub-on tattoo. Yeah, whatever. In the scene with Martok, you are wearing a very early 21st century shirt. I didn't know they wore short shirts like that in the 24th century. Well, yeah, in the 24th century, some people, like, like myself and Tom Paris and others, are just, we appreciate ancient garb. Heck, look at Picard in the episode Family from Next Generation. When he goes home, he's wearing garb that looks like 19th century French. Alexander says, Doomcock is really a Doomcock. Okay. Not sure what you're trying to say there, but whatever. I left a disappointed comment on Doomcock's video. I said the spike could be seen as a rise in interest that returns to normal, and it doesn't tell us what people are searching for. Well, it does tell us what people are searching for, but it doesn't tell us what the ratings are. It doesn't, and that's the thing. The fact that people looked for it on Google does, for example, a lot of those searches on the day of are probably, how do I watch Picard, right? And so people are looking it up to try and find out, how do I watch this show? Well, once you've gotten CBS All Access, or if you're in another country, what you got, however you can see it, or can't, then you don't search for that again. So of course the search is going to be much higher right at the premiere. Roxanne says, since I don't hate Picard yet, doesn't that mean Doomcock is right? That's the logical battle for you. No. Don't let Doomcock, Nerdrotic, and the rest bug you. I've seen a lot of people enjoy the series, myself included. DC, Nerdrotic, and so I'll just end up looking unfair later. See, and that's the thing. I agree with you, Miles, but I don't like that. I don't want Nerdrotic and Doomcock for people to look at them a year or two from now and say, man, what's up with that? Because I don't want to see their channel. I seriously here, I love both Gary and Doomcock. They're great guys. And I don't want their channels to falter because of this. And I think that if they continue on this path, eventually they will. And that's just my honest opinion. I think that it's one thing that if you genuinely just don't like something, it's another when you start saying things that are factually incorrect, or demonstrably false about a show just to try and stir up hatred of it. A perfect example is when Doomcock was talking about how Romulans have acid blood. That's demonstrably false, as was in one of my recent videos. So you make lemonade. Well, it's nice to do that for people when you show houses. Yeah, because I'm a realtor, yeah. Romulans did put up a truce, Nemesis and Romulans did ask for help 2009. Right, so here's the thing about that, Zarkon, and this is going to be in the video. Romulans and the Federation opened up talks at the end of Nemesis. That much is true. We have no idea what happened there. From Nemesis 2 decades later to Picard, we have zero information, except that sometime after, approximately 5-6 years after Nemesis, there was a supernova that ended up wiping out the Romulan homeworld. But as far as how those talks went, just because you open up talks doesn't mean détente, right? Just because you open up talks doesn't mean everybody's hunky-dory and singing Kumbaya. You know what? People opened up talks right before World War I. Just because you're talking to them doesn't mean they're not your enemy. It means you tried to avoid a war. I think they were able to do both of them. I'm not sure what you mean there. Laura likes to throw the term war crime everywhere. Yeah, Laura does do that. But no war crimes. Zarkon says, Picard, the Federation does not get to decide if another species lives or dies. Federation Admiral, yes, we do. We obviously do. And that is true. By the way, Picard himself has done it multiple times. It's called the Prime Effing Directive, because you let people die because of the Prime Effing Directive. And so, yes, you are choosing who lives and who dies. So Picard to say that is being an absolute hypocrite. Think of it this way. If during the Cold War, if the Russians suffered a national disaster and because they were the enemy, the USA refused to give aid, this is what happened in Picard. Except, while actually, here's a better analogy, like I said, is what if the day after 9/11, okay, so let's say there's a natural disaster in Saudi Arabia, And the Saudis needed to evacuate their country and everything, and we were going to take them all in. But then 9/11 happened, and all of a sudden, we can't, we can't, if we got to take care of business right now. Sorry, Saudi, we got to take care of the home front. That's what happened. And I don't think that Starfleet is being unreasonable by not suddenly letting a whole bunch of enemies into Federation territory when they're under attack. Let's see. Sensors should have picked up the weapons fire and security should have beamed in. Except that the Tal Shiar subgroup had obviously tampered with the system. That's my point. You know what? We accept this all the time, by the way, in fiction. How many times in spy movies or whatever, well, they managed to tap the security cameras. We have no problem with that, but all of a sudden, because it's Picard, we're not okay with it? Or why is, if we're dealing with a subgroup of the Tal Shiar that is so secret that even most of the Tal Shiar doesn't know about them, how is it that we're going to not accept the fact that they're good at their job and manage to tamper with Federation security, especially when we saw Starfleet freaking Command operatives are working? Why is it so hard to believe that somebody tampered with the security system?
Hello, world.
And Zarkon with another $5. Thank you so much. Durnitz, the order to not save survivors. That was a tribunal. Durnitz, not sure what you mean by Durnitz. The order to not save survivors. That was a tribunal charge. Well, here's the thing. And I assume that Durnitz is a specific name of a place or person or something where something like that happened. You could argue that, yes, it is in fact a moral and in some cases legal obligation to render aid if somebody needs it. However, that doesn't mean that you open up your borders. That doesn't mean that you go out of your way to render aid. It means like if somebody is injured and right in front of you, you should help them. Right? However, if you hear that someone on the other side of town is in dire need of help, meanwhile your house is on fire, you put out the fire first. So yeah. Using the search in this way, also comparing apples to oranges, and in no way means that many viewers search about the show over just watching. That's why it's an assumption of searching. Yes, it is just, all it is how many times was that term put into the Google engine. I mean, it could have been like people putting in, does Picard suck? Right? Or it could have been, how do I watch Picard? We don't know. Valor says, I actually recommended Picard to a friend who was burned by the stupidity of Discovery but enjoyed Picard episode 1, and she will be looking forward to later episodes. Good! Tentacle says, the police should have shown up. If not at the time of the fight, they should have shown up and questioned Picard. The show didn't even explain who brought Picard back home. That's true. We don't know that. It's possibly that it got cut for time, or it's possible that there is actually more to the story, and we're going to find out later. I'm hoping it's the latter, to be honest with you. I maybe, for example, what if, and this is I'm just spitballing here, what if, despite their apparent good intentions, what if Picard's 2 house servant Romulan friends are actually part of said super secret subgroup of the Romulan Tal Shiar, and they brought him back? Okay, what if they're part of this whole conspiracy? That could actually make a certain amount of sense, right? We don't know. Hopefully they'll get into that, but we don't know. But as far as the police should have shown up, yeah, they should have shown up, assuming that security systems weren't tampered with, that maybe calls didn't get rerouted, that, there's a million reasons why the police or security forces or whatever you want to call it never showed up. There's a million possible explanations for that. And a lot of them happen to fall on the fact that you have super secret spies covering up a conspiracy. And we know the super secret spies were aware of what's going on because the super secret spies were trying to kill the girl. Zarkon says, good point about being over yonder instead of on your doorstep. That was a reference to U-boat orders in World War II. Gotcha. I wasn't sure. Thank you, Zarkon. And by the way, you don't have to super chat every time, but, you know, except if you want to cut in line, in which case, go ahead and super chat every time. The police should have shown... I already read that. Let's see. Without naming any names, I do believe some YouTubers say things more for views and not based on what they really think. I agree. People do that. DC, Gary, and Mary are, much as I like and respect them, are freaking close to Batwoman crazy. I would not go that far on at least some of them. Let's see. Man, I'm far behind already. Do you think that the Romulans and the two droids are all a part of this Do you think that the Romulans and the two droids are all part of his condition, and the researcher, after he showed them before and the cameras were tampered with, and the researcher, after she showed him before and the cameras weren't tampered with, and they reveal season 4? No. I don't think this has anything to do with his condition. I think Black Widow takes place after Civil War and before Infinity War. That's why she mentions the Avengers in the latest trailer. I tend to agree. I do think it's a prequel. I don't think that, as some people do, that it was actually a Skrull that was killed, because then wouldn't the Soul Stone know the difference? Alexander says, the feeling of the Phantom Menace towards Jar Jar Binks is more than Batwoman crazy. It's Bat-Hound crazy. No, I'm going to go with the Phantom Menace feelings on Jar Jar. Picard is vastly superior to anything JJ produced. Careful what you say, Rock Solid. Careful what you say. I will leave it at that, because despite what some people think, not everything that J.J. Abrams produced is the same. All right? And in fact, there's at least one movie that his name is on that is considered an absolute classic. So be careful what you say. Matthew says, yo, Mikey. I hate that name. Darth Raven says, hey man, how are you doing? I'm trying to put together a task group on Discord of the mods. Very good, my friend. I appreciate that. You do good work there. And I do appreciate it, Darth. Joe says, hello, Antricker. Where are the war crimes comments coming from? The Fed would have had to be at war with the Romulans. Not rendering aid doesn't constitute a war crime, far from it. Well, we already kind of got that straightened out, but you might have commented on that before I answered. Captain Redneck says he hates this new YouTube version and I can't find the mobile version. I don't know. Are you talking about on PC or are you talking about on mobile devices? Because, well, obviously the mobile version you're talking about mobile devices, but are you talking about like just searching YouTube on like a Chrome app or are you talking about doing it on, because I don't see a difference, but I'm not looking at it on my phone right now. Zachary says, I think Nerdrotic and Doomcock are a bit too negative sometimes. I think that they go a little too dark. But again, I think it's from a good place as far as I know they care about this stuff, right? I'm not saying they're bad people or anything. And I think that they genuinely care about Trek. They want Trek to be better. But I think that they're so immersed in some of the stuff that's bad about Trek that they don't see the good things that are there. And Death by Rabies, or however you pronounce that, thank you so much, puts $3 and a fist bump. Thank you so much, Death by Rabies. There's your fist bump back at you, my friend. And let's see, I have less respect for DC, Gary, and MR42 because of how they are treating and reacting towards Picard, because the rumors and myths are not based on fact. That's my problem with what's been going on as of late, and that's it's driving me crazy, because I feel like like the Tick would say, I feel like I'm going sane in a crazy world. Either that or I am the only I'm just the crazy one, because why is it that I'm the only one in the Phantom Menace apparently that sees this? Am I really just that wrong? I gotta ask myself that sometimes. Am I really just off my rocker and everybody else that's screaming at me is right? That no, this stuff is horrible. This stuff is absolutely disgusting and horrible and rotten, and so I'd be dishonest if I didn't ask myself that. But I just don't see it. I don't see Picard as being that bad a show. I don't see Rise of Skywalker as being that bad a movie. And so I granted, yeah, that neither one of them are perfect. Rise of Skywalker certainly has issues. But, you know, these people that are saying, oh, it's ruining the Star Wars legacy. It's like, Last Jedi already did that. It's... what did you think of my Twitter theory? Now I got to go back and look, because man, you have no idea how much crap I get right now. Let me see, Revan, where is it? I don't know, man. You're talking like some heavy history stuff that hurts my brain, to be honest with you. That's what I think. It hurts my freaking brain. Be careful of Krogan lemonade. It's not made from lemons. It's made from the geloja machines. Well, that's why you never, ever go to hot dog and a stick in Kuroga. The word count is preventing me from getting my full detailed opinion across without using the Google search. I understand. And it sucks, but that's just the way it is. We have some info if you... the comics, a peek at 2385. Bird, you okay, buddy? I understand that there's some info in there, but I'm saying maybe there's more to the story than even the comic books reveal. We are forgetting the Riemann homeworld was destroyed and triggered by the supernova. Yeah, but nobody cares about the Riemanns. After all, they were a bunch of vampires. Rage culture will only get you so far before you have to start manufacturing rage and deliberately ignoring certain positives to keep your views. Starting to see that in the Phantom Menace. Unfortunately, Aberjam, I agree. I wonder what the group of the Tal Shiar was made, because during the exodus of the Romulans from Vulcan, they encountered a form of AI that almost killed them, and then maybe this can be a later season Big Bad. I don't know. That's an interesting idea. If you go to Memory Alpha, unproduced Star Trek films, you will find info on a film that was going to be made after Nemesis, but was canceled. It was about the relationship with the Romulans. Yeah, but that's completely irrelevant. You know, it's just like the fact that the bad guys in Star Trek 3 were originally going to be Romulans. Well, people can rightfully say, yeah, but that's not what happened, so it's irrelevant. What's relevant is what we actually see. We don't know, and maybe they'll fill in the blanks, maybe they won't. I hope they do. But obviously, sometime in between Nemesis and Picard, the Romulans were thought of as enemies again. Zarkon says, it's a personal take and headcanon. Rise of Palpatine was okay after Last Jedi broke things. At least we think about it instead of just repeating others. Yeah. And that's the thing. I understand that the Rise of Skywalker didn't fix everything. I get that. And there were a couple of things that clearly I think were big missteps. Like, I do think that Rey should have died and Kylo should have been the Skywalker at the end of the film. But... it's not the worst movie ever made. It really isn't, people. And they say, well, I never said it was the worst film ever made. Yeah, but you act like it is. You know, when people are saying how this movie, not Last Jedi, they say this movie destroys the Skywalker saga. This movie destroys the sacrifice of Anakin and Luke. Did you even watch the other two movies? Actually, the Prime Directive doesn't let people die if people ask for help. Picard has done it before. Pen pal, little girl asked for help. Picard saved her planet. Yes, but there have also been times where they'd say, nope, not going to help. Prime Directive won't let us. And so that's the thing. It's the problem with the Prime Directive is that in the original series, it was treated properly, in my opinion. The Prime Directive was more or less a guideline to how to behave, and that you would never, ever knowingly and intentionally contaminate a culture. However, Kirk would say, nope, this is a stagnant culture. Prime Directive doesn't apply, and he would make that executive decision, and they would act. Whereas in the Next Gen era, the Prime Directive is more like a religion. And Live with Matthew says, they opened up talks right after they had just opened up talks under the false pretense of wiping out the Federation. It was only after Shinzon lost that they asked for peace again. Yes, but you see, here's the thing, and this is my personal headcanon on it, is the idea that after they opened up, keep in mind, the entire Romulan Senate was wiped out, right? The entire Romulan Senate was completely wiped out. Shinzon staged a coup, and then Shinzon was killed. Who invited the Federation to come talk? Doesn't matter who it was, because guess what? There was no central authority at Romulus. And what happened sometime in between the time of the end of Nemesis and maybe the time that the Titan made it to Romulus was the military took over. That would actually be a logical turn of events at this point, and maybe some hawkish people in the military don't want the Federation interfering in their affairs, right? Now, here's what I'm genuinely hoping. I don't know if we're going to get it or not, but this is what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that we get an explanation from Riker in the scenes with Riker and Picard as to what happened to the Titan after Nemesis. Let's see, where was he? Alexander says, but Soj is so cute. I don't think she's particularly cute, honestly. It's not really explained in Voyager how the Romulans managed to take the USS Prometheus. No, it's not. Your live stream would, and that's the thing, is that we were perfectly okay with them leaving stuff like that out, but now we're not. And I think the only reason we're being extra nitpicky now is because if it's not perfect, it's the worst thing ever. Captain Sawyer says, your live stream with JG is one of the most enjoyable times to watch. JG strikes me as an actor who just loves the role and doesn't let the role supersede his own person. I agree. He really, I had a lot of fun hanging out with him. I'm hoping he'll come on my channel. Haven't heard back from him yet, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed. The Romulan the Romulan took out the image of the Daj, but not the actual explosion. We've seen the explosion on screen. Police should have investigated the explosion, or at least questioned Picard. But notice, Tentacle. In episode 2, I believe it was, when the Commodore was talking to the lieutenant, who are obviously conspirators and all this crap, she caught the fact that in one of the security cameras, you could see a flash in a reflection of something that could have been the explosion. And so she was like, no, that's bad, right? So, no, they did delete the explosion. Or at least they deleted a lot of it. They appear to be Romulan or bad Vulcans high up in Starfleet, though. That could easily cover that up. Exactly. That's my point. The conspiracy does... I mean, it goes to Starfleet Command. And by the way, not the first time a conspiracy went all the way up to Starfleet Command. So before you say that's not Star Trek, then you're going to have to rule out Star Trek 6 as being Star Trek, right? You have to rule out TNG conspiracy as being Star Trek. Just saying. Not to mention the changelings got into Starfleet Command as well. So I lived and loved DS9 and Voyager, and a big fan of Enterprise and TNG. Watched half of Shatner Trek so far. Cannot get through Disco Season 2, Episode 1. Picard just doesn't feel like Trek. That's fine. If you don't like it, that's perfectly fine. I don't begrudge anyone who doesn't like the show. I begrudge people who use things that are factually incorrect to not like the show. Like Romulans having acid blood. There were 14 Federation species in opposition to helping the Romulans. Their wants could not be ignored. Well, and the thing is, the way that the CNC described it is that the 14 planets involved were going to basically secede from the Federation. They mentioned that the police said they scanned the area and stuff. Okay. Strange that Picard woke in his house. Most doctors won't let a patient out of the hospital if they're still unconscious. That's assuming that he ever was in the hospital. That's what I'm saying. What if he was, his house servants are actually agents? All the shows have bigger premiere. People decide after the first episode if they stay or not. No show can please everybody. I agree with you on that one, Alexander. And who are you? Because you're not Alexander, because you didn't use the term Jar Jar Binks, Star Trek 5, or Neelix, or 7 of 9, or Asian women in that comment. I'm just saying. Who the heck are you? Did you like the episode Private Little War in the original series? This episode ends with the problem going unsolved since the Klingons are never taken care of and they still intervene with the planet. I thought Private Little War was an interesting episode. And by the way, that's another funny thing about Trek. The Prime Directive is the absolute law that says you don't interfere with pre-warp culture except for when you do. Apparently. I thought the 2 Romulans with Picard were explained in the 3rd issue of the Countdown comic. Don't know. You know what? Here's the thing, Dan. If you have to read a comic book to understand the show, that's a failure in the show. And the comic book should supplement the show and nothing more. Same problem with the Countdown comic that led up to Star Trek 2009. If you have to read that comic book to understand Nero's motivations, then the movie is a fail in that department. And don't get me wrong, I liked the Countdown comic leading up to Star Trek 2009, but anybody that would argue that Star Trek 2009 was a better movie because of information that they got from the Countdown comic is missing the point. Picard should have questioned why the police didn't show up, and yet he never did. He just accepted that he was back at his home on his couch. He also was just blown halfway across a rooftop. He might not be all the way there, you know. My friend who hasn't seen Star Trek before Discovery loved it at first and began seeing the other shows, and he understands why I was upset now. He said that it should have been after Nemesis. I agree. We saw the Asian Romulan Vulcan woman going over footage, making sure it was cleaned up. That's the explosion scene. They obviously covered it up. They even mentioned it. That's my point. Nothing of that changes, and we want at all costs, and right now, MCU Aunt May naked. There's Alexander. Starfleet security is horribly run. They never search suspects. Again, Tom, I disagree with you on that, Thomas, because Starfleet security didn't know there were suspects to search. I've never enjoyed anything JJ has produced. Okay. So, well, I'm not going to even bother to argue with you on that, because I just know that either you haven't seen all of his work or you're Batwoman crazy. Mr. Miles says JJ made Lost, and I'll always thank him for that, but I also hate him for how he ended it. It's a love-hate thing. We all support Bird of Prey 5 in his quest to get a Rose Tico series. No, I think only you do. Zachary says Super 8 is good. I liked Super 8. Not my favorite JJ movie, but I did like it. Admiral Savala says, yo, Mikey, because you know I hate that name. Alexander says, I want Star Trek to be better. That's the reason I want more 7 of 9 and the return of Neelix. Okay. Charles says, if I had used the same criteria proposed by some content creators to judge Picard on the first 2 episodes of The Witcher, I would have been talked out of watching a great series. Well, the same could be held true about almost The Expanse. How many people, I can't even tell you how many people after watching the first couple of episodes of The Expanse say, oh, it's boring. And I would say, please just get through the first season. I promise you it gets better. SG1, Mr. Miles himself had to beg me to get through those first couple of seasons before it got really good. And he was right. Okay, so yeah, not every series starts out being the best it could be. Sometimes you have to do some world building. Awesome Sauce says, no, you are actually normal. That's strange to hear. Aaron says, had a lot of trouble enjoying Rise of Skywalker. Not really good movie, just not really a good movie, let alone a good Star Wars, but Picard fails to be Trek-like disco. Not sure I follow you there. As far as Rise of Skywalker, if you didn't like it, that's fine. But As far as Picard fails to be Trek like Disco, so you're saying Picard is like Disco in the way it fails to be Trek? Because I would have to respectfully disagree. The only thing that Picard really does similarly to Discovery is the fact that it's a show that has a central character as opposed to being an ensemble piece, which is true of Discovery and Picard. Picard's about Picard, Discovery's about Burnham. The difference is Picard is an interesting character, Burnham is not. However, that's pretty much, and the shuttles are the same, which is stupid, but it's not like you have all this blatant canon violation going on in Picard left and right. It's not like, you know, like if Picard says, a cloaking device, never heard of such a thing. Okay, then we'll talk about Discovery levels of canon. The difference is you're intellectually honest, and Trigger, you tell how you see it. Thank you, John. I try to, but it's hard sometimes. I also care for Star Wars. This wasn't the reason I care about birds in The Force Awakens. I still don't understand why you care about the birds in The Force Awakens. Carlos says, Trigger, afternoon. To answer the question of Picard failure, it's not Patrick's fault, but the fault is in the writers, the premise, and the paywall. I'll say this. I do think that the contemporary style of writing is a mistake and a misstep for the show. I don't think that makes the show a complete failure, but I think that it drags it down a notch. As for the premise, I have no problem with the premise whatsoever. The paywall, that's just the way CBS is doing things, and CBS ain't alone on that. I mean, after all, Disney, you could argue the same thing, that Disney put The Mandalorian behind a paywall, and all the upcoming Avengers shows, right? And so if you're going to diss Picard for the paywall, then you better say the same thing about every Disney show. And by the way, you should say the same thing about every, like The Witcher or any other show that you like, the Lost in Space, anything you like on Netflix, that's all behind a paywall. All right, so paywall, if you're going to argue that that is a fault in the show, then you need to say that anything that is a streaming service exclusive content, whether it be on Amazon Prime, Hulu, Netflix, CBS All Access, Disney Plus, or a host of other, you know, the upcoming Peacock service, all that. If paywall is a fault, then all paywall is a fault. As far as the premise, like I said, I don't have a problem with it, but the writing, I don't like the contemporary writing. I'll agree with you on that. The biggest problem with Rise of Skywalker spends too much time explaining, apologizing for the previous movie, apologize off screen, just do the movie in the movie. But they couldn't get away with apologizing off screen because Kathleen Kennedy wouldn't allow it, and she's too dense to realize that they did it in the movie. Trekyards has showed that while there are things that break canon of Picard, there are many other canon things in Picard, like Maddox. As far as breaking things, I don't know what they're talking about specifically, so I can't comment on that. I haven't seen every Trekyards video on Picard. They put out quite a few. But honestly, I don't see any blatant canonical violations. Not like we saw in Discovery. I received 7 other volumes of Judge Dredd to complete case files. The last 5 volumes are coming. Wow. That's a lot of volumes. Zachary says, Luke starts training Rey in Last Jedi, and she goes straight to the dark side. We find out she's a Palpatine and Rise of Skywalker. There were connections. Yes. And actually, that's one of the connections that made sense to me. But you had to have connections between The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, because Rise of Skywalker is a sequel to The Last Jedi. So you can't just pretend it didn't happen. I know people say, well, yes, you can, Anti-Trekker. You could just retcon that movie never happened. That wasn't going to happen because Kathleen Kennedy wasn't going to allow that to happen. Just like they should have had Rey die or Rey turn evil, but Kathleen Kennedy wouldn't allow that either. So you have to work within the framework that Kathleen Kennedy sets, because she runs Lucasfilm for better or for worse. And, you know, hopefully she'll be gone soon. Alexander says, I saw 7 and 9. That's why 7 and 9 matters. She's very important. She makes Picard already a great success. Okay. Valor says, the reason behind why MR42 wanting to fail and for Picard to actually die, the character, not the actor, is an emotional one because of a person who had nothing to do with the show. Okay, I don't know the details of what you're talking about, so I can't really comment on it. Hey, Edric, how are you? How's everybody? Hanging in there, my friend. Darth Revan says, I was shouted at. Picard is not canon, 25% different. JJ is not canon. I said, what do you think they are sitting Wait. I was shouted at, Picard is not canon, 25% different, JJ's not canon. I said, why do you think that they are sitting Doomcock's reviews? I'm not sure what you mean there, Darth Revan. But, yeah, the whole Picard is not canon, 25% difference, JJ's not canon stuff, those are silly arguments. First of all, you know what? Yes, I hate Discovery, but Discovery is canon. Yes, there are faults in Picard, but Picard is canon, all right? The 25% difference thing is a complete myth, all right? As far as the whole secret hideout mega deal that says that this is in a different universe, but we're not going to tell them it's a different universe, so we can all fool them into thinking it's the same. That makes no effing sense whatsoever. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Why? Because if they want to make it into a different universe, they can just say so, like they did in Star Trek 2009. And guess what? The fans were pretty much accepting of that. I was accepting of that. Why? Because if you make it so that this is an alternate timeline, then all of a sudden canonical violations disappear. I like science. It's the power of math, people. Yeah, I know. Oh, why you gotta hurt me like that? The I like science was probably the second dumbest moment for Spock. The dumbest moment for Spock, of course, being that, you know, his oh, you're my big sister, and so I'll go find Captain Kirk, and we'll be buddies now. Never saw an episode of Picard. You should. Shomer says, greetings, Night Checker, and fellow nerds. Hail Karoga. Yeah.
Martox the Changeling!
All hail Karoga.
Yes, the one and only time that Martok said Hail Karoga. What was the episode where they have to move people, but the Prime Directive wouldn't let them, and they used the holodoc to transfer a small population in a tent? That would be Star Trek Insurrection. Or actually, there was an episode where they did that too, and I can't remember the name of the episode, but it's funny because Picard took one side in the episode and the other side in Insurrection, because Picard is, if nothing else, the most consistent person ever. I wanted a gorgeous female commander to be Romulan Emperor. Well, sorry. Expecting no explanation with Riker with the Titan, the subject will be with Picard and his mission. Probably true, but I would still like to see that. I'm just saying what I would like to see. I'm not saying what we will see. Did you notice episode 1, they said warp-capable ferries, not ships. They didn't mention ships, so could be why we saw Star Trek Discovery ships there using any ships they could get their hands on. I did not hear them say warp-capable ferries. I did hear Picard say he needed a warp-capable ship, but that was in episode 2. But the thing is, a ferry is a kind of ship. But no, it's not, because and by the way, what you're missing there, Darth, is that you see the Armada in episode 2. What are you doing, Auntie? Huh? Come here. Here you go. You want a treat? There you go. Films are not canon, so who cares? Well, they kind of are. No, in episode 2, Picard was watching the explosion from the security camera. We saw the explosion. I'd have to go back and look at it again. Not explosion, was disruptor fire. You're right. You're right. It was disruptor fire, not an explosion. Soja's amazing. After 7 and 9, she's the best thing in Picard. I disagree. Also says, if the Commodore is from security, it would easily explain why there's no security. They could have diverted and hidden everything. Exactly. You see Picard in the explosion, but he was alone. They show him, and he said he must have had a cloak, or it's his symptoms. Yeah, and that's the thing. I think they're trying to play up his rheumatic syndrome in order to fool him. They're basically trying to trick him into thinking he's sick. Man, I am so freaking far behind. Aaron says, I doubt I'll like it, but it's not over yet, and so far I've been able to get through both episodes. But to me, Picard just feels like a TV show. It doesn't have to be Trek. It doesn't have the Trek magic yet. Okay. Maybe you should watch Bird of Prey review of the Picard comic. Or maybe the comic is irrelevant because if you have to read the comic in order to understand the show, then it's a fail. On a meta level, it seems like the point of the Prime Directive was to showcase the reason to break it. Yeah, you're right. 7 of 9 is like your ketchup chips. This is coming. So many people crying about every little detail not being explained or spoon-fed to them, and not how serialized shows work, and it's only been 2 episodes out of 10. I agree, and that's a big problem. People that say there's no explanation for this, there's no explanation, say that after the season is over. That's all I can say. 2009 sucked. Audiobook with flashing lights. I disagree. I enjoyed 2009 as an alternate timeline story. Yes, by episode 2, Picard never even got suspicious when he got his senses back. Yeah, maybe not, but you know what? Stranger things have happened in Trek, and we give it a pass. Greetings, birds, turds, and crazy friends. Hey, Wesley. CDH says, what elements of Picard make you enjoy the show and Checker? I find it terrible. It would be deeply embarrassed to have my name attached to it. Well, I'm actually working on a video about that exact thing. I think that Picard is a natural extension of where Starfleet was heading. And so that's something that I find really interesting. I also happen to think Patrick Stewart has still got his acting chops, even if he's too old to be convincing in any kind of action scene. And so if they start putting him in action scenes, that's going to be a negative. But I think Patrick Stewart carries himself quite well. I'm interested in the Romulan subplot. I'm interested in the conspiracy. I want to see how all of that resolves. I'm also very interested to see why the Romulans are deborgifying Borg. So I think there's a lot of things that are interesting. What's the news today? Well, let's see. State of the Union speech happened. Nancy Pelosi tore up the speech after the speech because she is disrespectful. Apparently, and I didn't see this, but apparently President Trump didn't shake Nancy Pelosi's hands because he's disrespectful. Everybody in Washington, D.C. is behaving like children. Give me an example of a good JJ content, Mikey. Well, don't use my name as Mikey, and maybe I will. He could also be Bat-Hound crazy. Okay. I'm not referring to Starfleet security in the Picard episode. I'm referring to Starfleet security throughout Trek. Oh, well, yeah. If you want to say that Starfleet security has a history of being something inept, yeah, you're kind of right. Kirk made a great speech about the Prime Directive. It's perfect rule for perfect situation. Chair is perfect for sitting. Being a captain means imperfect situations happen. I don't remember that particular speech, but what's it from? How's that Hulk of Blazing Sails review coming along? Almost done? Great. Does Picard, Andrew likes Picard so far? Hey, Mikey, he likes it. Wow, so now everybody's going to call me Mikey. I'm just going to start skipping comments if you call me Mikey, just so you know. And it's nothing, here's the thing. It's, different people have different things that they can and cannot tolerate. Words like Mikey and Mickey and that kind of thing, I basically, when I was a little kid, my sister used to tease me using those names. I don't acknowledge those names, so you can call me that all day long. That's not my name. So you can either call me Anti-Trekker or you can call me Michael. However, if you call me Mikey, I'm going to ignore it. I'm not going to get triggered. I'm just going to ignore it. Babylon 5 also a show that have you slog through the first season before it gets good. Yeah, that's true too. What movie from Abrams are you defending? Wouldn't you like to know? By the way, let's see, of Abrams movies, well, okay, I don't want to tell you because then it's too obvious once you know it. I know a lot of people like Mission Impossible 3, which is an Abrams film. That was actually his first feature film that he directed. The one that really pops out as having his name all over it and is truly a great film is regarding Henry. Voyager started very slow, but we got 7 and 9 and became a masterpiece. Yeah. If I don't stick through the first season of TNG, if I didn't stick through the first season of TNG, I would have missed a great show. To be fair, it did have some good episodes in season 1. to pique my interest. Season 1, in my opinion, I can't think of any great episodes from season 1, except for maybe Conspiracy, which unfortunately then went nowhere. I really want to know the state of the Romulan Empire after Deep Space Nine. They took a major hit. I would like to know as well, but we're probably never going to find out. I'll clarify, Picard doesn't fail in the same way as Disco. To me, neither live up to the prior shows. So Picard Season 1 is still airing, so we'll see when it's over. Yes. Okay, so Bird says, Picard violations so far. Romulan Sun instead of Hobart Star. Data dead versus Captain Data. Okay. So, interestingly enough... Whoops, sorry about that. Interestingly enough, Bird, neither of those are canon violations. You know why? Because nowhere on film will you hear the term Hobart Star. Nowhere on film will you see Captain Data. Both of those were in the Countdown comic book. That is all. Picard doesn't feel like Star Trek because the way they talk and the set pieces. And I know the comic book, by the way, was supposed to be canon, Bird, but obviously it's at best secondary canon, and I don't really get, and I like the Countdown comic book before Star Trek 2009, but it is what it is. The Hobart Star thing didn't make any sense anyway. Picard doesn't feel like Star Trek because of the way they talk and their set pieces and their actual stovetop for cooking water in Dodge's apartment. All right, so I will agree with you on one part of that, Tentacle. The way they talk is all wrong. They should not have the contemporary writing. As far as the set pieces, I'm sorry, but freaking watch Star Trek. You see stuff like that all throughout the Next Generation, and you never bitched about it. And in fact, go look at freaking Chateau Picard and Family. It's a joke, all right? So, yeah. Carl says, okay, drop the paywall. Well, they're not going to do that. How dare you like a movie or TV show that others don't? I know. Bird of Prey says, the wrong ships. The wrong ships. Okay? Not sure what you mean. Peacock is going to, if you're saying they use the wrong ships, because they use the shuttles, people are all over the place trying to defend or attack those shuttles. Personally, I don't like that it's a reminder of Discovery, but I understand the canonical arguments about it, because you know what, like many and people that on this chat, on this stream, not this particular stream, but on my live streams, have pointed out that in Star Trek The Next Generation, they're flying around in Miranda-class ships. All right? So why is it so crazy to believe that an older design would still be in service? In fact, the Miranda-class ship was one of the most common ships in the Dominion War. Peacock will be going to be free, but with commercials, the paid version will be commercial-free version. Okay. I'm fine with that, but... and so we'll see how it works. Let's see. Wrong ships everything. Wrong ships everything. That's not even a sentence. The cannon has been fired. Austin says, complaining about the paywall, we paid $30 just to get 3 episodes of TNG in the 90s on VHS because it was not on TV, and people complain about a show that has a budget of tens of millions. I know. We have something in common. We have a Rose Tico action figure in our collection. Only because of you. But Rey did turn evil. She is a Jedi. Captain Spire says, speaking of Google, I wonder if the people Googling Birds of Prey run into your old-time nemesis Bird of Prey and sending angry comments to him as dishonorable Kuroga. That's a good question. I don't know. The only thing that sort of violates the canon is when the Irish Romulans said Romulans don't have AI. Romulans were actively trying to make a data. Well, were they trying to actively make a data? I'm trying to remember, Tentacle, because I know that one dude mentioned that he knew some Romulan cyberneticists that would love to get their hands on data, but that doesn't mean they were actively trying to make a data. But I'm not. But even so, then you could start arguing about to what extent did the Romulans hate AI, or so. Was it just the Tal Shiar? Was it just the Tal Shiar subgroup? Was it all Romulans that hate AI? And what's interesting is people have brought up other interesting things like, well, it's true that we never saw the Romulans have androids running around or in intelligent machines and stuff, but they seem to be all over the Federation. The only way to make explain that as the Romulans general were trying to make AI, but the secret Romulan police always stopped it in secret. That's what I got the feeling of. Jeff says hailing frequencies open for reasons. Is that bird I hear barking at your heels, Mikey? And once again, Mikey, so I'm not going to answer. Now, Worf's brother, Alexander says, this is like Ghostbusters 2016. This is a reboot, and they said it. After that, like it or not, it's your right to like it. Me, I don't like it. Okay. Richard says, that would be Homeward. Okay. Is your other dog barking? Yes, that was because Mrs. Antichecker went to run an errand and she just got back, so Puko was going crazy. In episode 2, Picard felt like filler, but it wasn't bad. Weaker than the pilot. First of all, it's not a pilot, but the first episode, I understand. Yes, I think episode 2 was not as good as episode 1, but it hasn't tipped into negative territory for me yet. Wait, we have fairies in Picard? Apparently, yes. And there goes the chat jumping again because I'm so far behind. All right. Roxalt says, make sure there's no Mikey in this one. Okay. Up the Long Ladder was the name of the TNG Season 1 episode where they had to transfer a colony from Earth because the planet was at risk with the Bringladi. Okay. In Insurrection, they discovered the population knew about warp drives and holograms. They chose not to use them. The Prime Directive did not apply after that. Yes, but Sean, the entire plan was cooked up and planned to be enacted before that was known. I think that the conspiracy is linked to the Baku. It's certainly because of the bad bread market war. I kind of doubt that. The problem with Picard is the fact that they're using a Commodore. They need to use a TRS-80. But you should read the comic. Comics are good. I don't hate comics, Alexander, but it's not a matter of comics being good or bad. It's a matter of the fact that that it should not be necessary to read a comic. Let's see. Miles, yes, corrects me. The dumbest moment for Spock was making him laugh and sing, and the TG episode was called Homeworld. Yep. And that was, so yes, you're quite right. Making Spock laugh and sing was his worst moment ever. I blocked that out of my memory. Thank you for reminding me of it. By the time Andrew reads this, Bird will be behind on his stream. That would be hilarious if it were true. Wand says, what if Romulan spinning Spock and his sister are the children of Sela, Tasha Yar's half-evil Romulan daughter? That would be another interesting tie-in to TNG. That would not make any sense whatsoever because Sela didn't exist at that time. So, not sure that wouldn't be possible. Let's see. Carlos says, is there going to... let's see. So there's going to be, say Picard is crazy and he's imagining everything, but we as the viewers will have to decide when he goes to prove he's right or is he's crazy. I hope they don't. I don't think it's going to be left to your imagination, but I wouldn't be surprised if someone tried to use that against him to make him doubt himself. Soj 7 of 9 are perfect for an action scene. Yeah, whatever. Give me an example of good JJ content. Already did. Wonder what Gene Roddenberry would say about Discovery and Picard. Don't care. People put way too much stock in what would Gene Roddenberry say? What would Gene... Boy, this goes against Gene Roddenberry's vision. All of good Trek goes against Gene Roddenberry's vision. If you don't believe that, freaking do some research. Gene Roddenberry's vision of Trek was the effing Cage, Star Trek the Motion Picture, and the first season of TNG. In other words, the worst of Trek was his vision. I got him! And Zarkon puts another $5 in, and Yosef also puts €2 in. Zarkon says, maybe that's why Starfleet ordered the ship not to... and there's the other announcement. Thank you, my friend. Maybe that's why Starfleet ordered the ship not to render aid to the Romulans. They turned off the Romulan ale tap. That could be. Because we don't know what the status of Romulan ale was after the Dominion War. We know that they lifted the embargo during the Dominion War. But after the Dominion War, the Romulans obviously were still enemies. So what happened there? You have a green tint. Are you a fake Romulan? I have a green tint? No, I'm not a fake Romulan. I am not.
And pork. It is with cooking with the pork and the pork. Okay, with the go, and we're gonna make the kelp. Here's bring out the kelp.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, kelp, get it in the pot.
Get in the pot here.
And then we stir the kelp. That's a good kelp.
Okay.
The president also didn't shake the hand of Vice President Pence. I did not catch that. You have now 132 persons. Wow. I did not realize we had that many. Peter says, I'm not going to read that. It's, let's see. Zachary says it's okay. It's Anti-Trekker or Mr. Crawford. Well, no, you can call me Michael. I'm okay with that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That Kirk speech was from the PC game Starfleet Academy. Oh, okay. That's why I didn't know it. I'd never played that one. Aaron says, hashtag Michael the Anti-Trekker Crawford. Anti-J Trekker Crawford. Epic Beard says, but can we call you late for supper? You could. That would mean that we'd be going to your place to eat, though. That's cool. Why are you reading who said what comments? Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, Wesley. Darren says, good morning. Good morning, Darren. Good to see you. Free of expression means Pelosi can tear up this. Freedom of expression means Pelosi can tear up the speech. Yes, it's disrespectful. That's the point. Yes, but here's what you don't understand, Sean, that the House of Representatives is supposed to be a model of decorum. That is why you always hear them say, I yield my time to the gentlewoman from Alabama. I yield my time from the gentleman from Maine. They are very much into, basically being polite, using proper manners. And then, of course, they go out in front of the press and say, that person's the worst person ever. They act like freaking 2-year-olds. They follow the rules because they have to, but they try to find excuses to break the rules. And yes, it is disrespectful, and I don't believe in disrespecting the President of the United States. I don't care what political party the President of the United States happens to be a part of. The President of the United States is the President of the effing United States. End of discussion. Now, if you want to run around and say that, the president, say horrible things about the president, or you want to disrespect the president, blah, 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 you go right ahead. Not my bag. Can we call you the greatest Charleston dancer ever? Then Charleston dancers also have a cane. You could, you'd be wrong. Admiral Small says, sorry, Mike, didn't know you were teased by a sibling. I won't tease you anymore. I appreciate it, Admiral. TNG had at least one good episode in Heart of Glory. I don't remember that one off the top of my head, so I can't comment on that. Average Jam says, not just for any Mikey comments, but for your own mental, spiritual health, disdain for the name is a sign of unforgiveness, which is a stone around your neck. No, here's the thing. I'm not holding a grudge against anybody for calling me that. It's just that the name is kind of grating to me. And it reminds me of things that I just as soon forget. Darther says, fun fact, Mick is a racial slur for Irish, so if I was Michael and you said, hi, Mick, that's okay. But if you say, hey, Raven, you effing Mick, I will punch you. Okay. I've heard you say that about the word Mick before, but yeah. I like the shuttles on Utopia Planitia. Okay. Are you talking about because the shuttle on Utopia Planitia, are you talking about the one in episode 2 where they show the Discovery shuttles, or are you talking about when they show the one that looked like the Argo, and when the scene about the Armada, which specifically I don't know what you're talking about. Picard's Vineyards explained that his family lived like that for generations. They never changed. There was dialogue where his brother forbade his wife from getting a replicator.
Doesn't matter, Tentacle.
How do you know that Dodge doesn't like old stovetops? Who the hell cares? and that's the thing. If you want to say, for example, in Discovery, when they start using holograms before there were holograms, yeah, I have a problem with that. That's a continuity violation. However, you know what? Here's a good one for you, Tentacle. Look at freaking Captain Kirk's apartment in Star Trek 3. Old pistols, old computer, all sorts of old stuff. And you know what? Nobody calls it out. Why? Because obviously Captain Kirk liked antiques. There was a throwaway line of "I know of your fondness for antiques" that most people miss. But the whole thing is that just because there's old stuff doesn't mean it doesn't take place in the future anymore. It just means there's old stuff. They started doing that to the Galaxy class, pushing them out like Mirandas. That says something. What about the Mike? If you find it a bit disrespectful, I'll stick with Andy Trekker. I always have trouble remembering how to spell your first name. Try not to be disrespectful. Mike is one of those. I prefer Michael because my name is not Mike. And honestly, Mike, it just feels too informal. Dodge's apartment had no stove and yet a boiling pot. Okay. So it was just boiling at random, like sitting on the floor? I kind of doubt that. Or did you just not recognize it as a stove? I think the old shuttles and ships were converted to civilian use when their tech was outdated, but they never said that civilian ships were constructed by Starfleet to help with the Romulans. Well, the thing is that not every shuttle we saw was in civilian use. Listen, I only saw 2 episodes. I plan to see the next, but as for the overall feel of this, the aesthetics and the language, I tend to look at this as Star Trek discard. Well, as far as the language, I agree with you, Candace. I've said that before. I think, and in fact, I did the whole video on the whole idea that the contemporary writing is, in fact, the show's biggest flaw. As far as the aesthetics, not really bothered, because one thing, and in fact, this is true, even though, some people like it, some people hate it, but we've never spent extended periods of time in Trek on Earth. And so, like, people freaking out about what the streets look like, people freaking out about what, Chicago looks like and stuff like that. We've never really been to Chicago before in Trek. So who's to say that's not what the streets of Chicago look like? You're just imagining that it would look like something that it doesn't. Not every city in the world looks exactly the same. So I don't have a problem with the aesthetics. Chateau Picard, another example, of course, Tentacle was talking about. Yes, it's true. If you look at the at TNG, they actually do address the fact that Chateau Picard is hundreds of years old and unaltered. Right? They don't have all the fancy modern tech in Chateau Picard. That was the intent. That was the Picard family tradition. So what? So people getting worked up about those things. Well, we haven't gotten to space yet. So don't start judging the aesthetics of the show until you see all the aesthetics of the show. We're once we get into space, if you don't like the design of the ships and all that, well, fine, we'll talk. Trek Reviewer says, are you saying the Arsenal of Freedom and Where No One Has Gone Before were not good episodes? Yes. I did not like either of those episodes. I thought No One Has Gone Before, I just didn't care about. Arsenal of Freedom had potential, but honestly looked cheesy to me, even beyond what the original series looked cheesy. Turkestan State of the Union win. Oh, man. You want me to do a Turkestan State of the Union? Man, that'll be a challenge. I also think the streaming service, this streaming service of 10 episodes suck. Okay, well, do you think that any time a streaming service offers a 10-episode season of something, that sucks? So you're going to sit there and say, for example, Expanse Season 4 sucks. How about The Witcher? I mean, don't know what your tastes are, so you might hate both of those shows, but I don't particularly care for the short-form series like they're doing nowadays. I prefer a 23 to 26 episode season, I think, but that's just become the new norm, unfortunately. And I don't like it, but that's just a fact of life. Now, that is not a yes, I think the show should be more episodes, but that's not, a slight on the content of the individual episodes. That's has to do more with the way that streaming platforms are doing it. And as far as hiding behind a paywall, well, guess what? Streaming services are where the industry is going. End of story. They can't sell commercials anymore because there's always people that are going to stream it. And so if they got to stream it, they need to make money doing it. And so, hence, paywalls. I think episode 1 was an apology to the fans, and the second was for everyone. I think episode 1 was an apology to the fans, and the second was for everyone. Some friends prefer the second one because they didn't get the references in the first episode. I could see that to a certain extent, but I don't know that I would call episode 1 an apology to the fans. I think that the references and Easter eggs were attempts to reassure the fans that they understand that this is indeed Trek. Well, I can understand older models of shuttles that are 30, 40 years old, but especially when the computers that control mechanics will be obsolete at some point. Well, but here's the thing, Kevin. So you can understand 30 to 40-year-old shuttles, but you're okay with a 100-year-old starship. Because the Miranda class during the Dominion War was over 100 years old. A TRS-80 instead of a Commodore? Why would you want that trash? Well, because it was called the Trash 80 for a good reason. Rock Solid, anyone who got the TRS-80 joke is like TOS TV, old and outdated. Oh, so you're old and outdated, Rock Solid? I didn't know that. You know what I am sick of is characters who die playing their own kids or grandkids, and nobody bring up the identical face. People who die playing their own kids. I assume you maybe try playing their own kids or grandkids. If I understand your comment, then I would agree. Rockstar says, I haven't heard of any examples of good JJ content. I've heard other content, but not good. So you don't think Regarding Henry is a good movie? Can't help you then. Blimey, 2 or 3 episodes in, and the Contrarian Olympics are going for gold. It's pretty amazing how the Phantom Menace seems to be like CNN on anyone but Biden. I don't understand it, but whatever. Shover says, even though the Irish Trek episodes can be seen as culturally offensive, Up the Long Later, Farhaven, and Spirit Folk, I still enjoy them. It's good to be able to laugh at ourselves. Well, Star Trek has a history of being racist in Next Gen. It just does. Roddenberry would have liked the characters of Star Trek Discovery, but not the war story. I agree. I think Roddenberry actually would have really approved of the general... I think that he would have approved of everything about Discovery except for the actual war story. He would have preferred that they just wander around the galaxy sniffing their own farts. If we start chattering to Bird of Prey 5, he might get to it by his stream. That's, in that case, first. TMP was great. Season 1 had some great episodes. 1100101110, the one with the Traveler, Angel 1. Agree to disagree on that, Shodan. Loquetius says, a lot of people have reacted badly to the scene in the last episode where the Commodore curses at Picard. Did you think it was appropriate for her to say that to a figure like Picard? Well, there's 2 ways to answer that question, Loquetius. Do I have a problem with her expressing utter disdain for Picard and his hubris? Not at all. However, and that's coming from someone who served in the military. However, I think her dropping the F-bomb was wrong because Star Trek is above that kind of thing, or at least should be. And, basically with the new modern era of Trek, these writers that don't understand the difference between Trek and any other show basically just write it like it was any other show. And that's the biggest problem with the show, is that the language is too contemporary. And her using the F word was antithetical to Trek. As far as her being pissed off at Picard, that didn't bother me in the slightest. In fact, drop the F-bomb out of it, and that was the best scene in the Picard series so far. Scientific One says, sorry I'm right. Can't seem to rewind to the beginning. Can you restart your stream, please? Sure thing. No problem.
When a humble turd.
Hey guys, Michael J. Crawford, the Anti-Tricker here. Hey, did you see the latest news from Kuroga?
Martok's the changeling!
All hail Kuroga.
That's right, Martok is a changeling when he hails Kuroga. But the real Martok...
Now,
Kuroga. Death to Kuroga. Death to Kuroga. Death to Kuroga.
So yes, the real Martok hates Kuroga. Yeah, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan went against Gene's vision. That's why it was a good film. Exactly. In fact, Gene Roddenberry hated Star Trek II and Star Trek VI the most. Shocker. He also, you know what his least favorite episode of TNG was? Best of Both Worlds. Rusty says, too many people! Ah! Oh, come on now. I don't believe the Romulans were enemies again after the Dominion War. Nemesis, they certainly weren't. Remans, yes. Romulans, no. Well, but you know, it doesn't take much. You assassinate the entire Senate, and you have a military coup, and bam, Romulans are enemies again. Neil Normie says, really stuff in the show about members of the Federation not wanting to help Romulans. Surprise stuff Klingons are in Star Trek Online as how open hostility to the Federation. Okay, I don't know all the storylines from Star Trek Online, so I played it a little bit, but I couldn't comment on it. Antrigger says Antrigger needs to expand more. Please grow your content. Make more reviews. Live streams are not content. Well, they are content, but you know, honestly, the reason I've been struggling to get more content out has not had to do with doing live streams. It's been having to do with the medical conditions I've been dealing with, and the constant pain I'm in makes it very difficult for me to focus. That's been my biggest problem. I had a ringtone made about me in school, and the entire school had it, and a lot of dicks from my city. That song is burned in my brain. I'm sorry. 128 watching, only 62 likes. Come on, fellow nerds. Help out old Anti-Trigger. Give the stream a like. Subscribe if not already. Hit the bell for notifications on live streams and uploads. Thank you, Shomer. And I am going to be wrapping it up momentarily, guys. So please keep that in mind, that I am not going to keep going forever. So if you're putting comments in right now, I may not get to it. Just giving you fair warning. So as of 12:03 is the current comments, and so if after that, I apologize, but I'm not going to get to it. If Nancy did what she did in communist states, she'd be in a gulag. God bless the USA. Yeah. Really, Trump is worried about torn paper. He wouldn't last 10 minutes in the UK Parliament. He wasn't worried about it. I'm the one that noticed it. Trump didn't say a word about it that I know of. Andrew, Heart of Glory continuity issues concerning the Klingons. I like I said, I don't know the episode by heart, so I don't know which episode that is by title. The President's speech is an official document. Is handing it to the Speaker. The fulfillment of the State of the Union requirements, tearing it up, is her destroying an official document. Kind of true. Decorum means sounding respectful while insulting people in a way they cannot easily retaliate. By the way, he's not my president. We don't have one. Well, I don't know if you're an American, Sean, then you're wrong. If you're not an American, then yeah, he's not your president because you're not an American. If one that looks like by the way, I would say the same thing if it was Obama or anybody else. The people that said Obama's not my president, or Bush is not my president, or Clinton's not my, screw you, man. He's the president of the freaking United States. The ones that look like the Argo are what I liked. Okay. I agree. I like those. I have old stuff in my home, like me. Well, I have old stuff around here, like the cross that you see over here. That's old, right? I've got my grandmother's Bible sitting on a bookshelf, so you know it doesn't bother me to see old stuff lying around a house. You know, Auntie's kind of old. Of course, Kirk had a fondness of antiques. That's why he kept McCoy around. Bazinga. Old stuff is decoration is fine, but not as everyday living items. Dodge is 25th century hippist. She doesn't cook. Well, if she's a 25th... First of all, hipsters keep old crap around and use it all the time. They think, oh, isn't it great that I have this, like, archaic old coffee percolator that, you know, even though a Keurig machine would brew a cup of coffee in 1/10 of the time, you know, I use this old percolator because it's old. There are people that do that kind of crap. This guy thought of replicators as fast food. Cisco cooked all the time. His dad ran a restaurant. Picard liked real caviar. The list goes on. That's true. People do comment in Next Gen that replicated food doesn't taste the same. Maybe she doesn't like the taste of replicated food. Okay, how did anything in the future exist? We never heard its fluctuating timeline because as soon as Control was killed, it was then never in the future. So who attacked the shut? I have no idea what you're talking about, Darth Raven. Please compare the taxi shuttle to the TNG shuttle. It looks like an update of the TNG. Besides, the taxi could be using old shuttles for taxis, things, yellow cab in New York. The taxi shuttle was a Discovery shuttle, as was the couple of the shuttles we see flying over the Daystrom Institute, as were the shuttles that we see on the ground at Utopia Planitia. And also the shuttles we see buzzing about Utopia Planitia was a mix of Discovery shuttles and non-Discovery shuttles. And by the way, I even showed in my video about it that there's a picture of Picard in Starfleet Command with one of those Discovery shuttles flying directly overhead, looking like a Starfleet shuttle. Gary says, I'm late. Is Picard a failure or not? Any decision? No, my point is that you can't call it a failure until the series is over. Andre said, hello from Bosnian Herzegovina. I can never pronounce the rest of your name, but welcome, Andre. Welcome. And Thomas puts a $1.99 in with a ship quiz to end the stream. All right, I will. Did you send it to me on Discord? Because I didn't hear my phone go off. This whole Mikey thing reminds me of when Polanski was talking to Data about the pronunciation of his name. Oh, Data versus Data. Why not, Mikhail? Mostly clean. Well, that would be incorrect. Come on, nerds, get Andy Trigger to 100 likes, 66 likes, 134 watching. Well, we're up to 79 now. Hey, I was in Chicago recently at Trigger. Wrigley is still a drunk tank toilet bowl that should be bombed from the face of the earth with the fans in it. Wow. Wow, Rock Solid. That's just dark. I mean, seriously, dude. That's dark. Candace says, wrong. Aesthetics. It's all these warp-capable shuttles and other nods to the Star Trek Discovery. And that, by the way, Candace, thank you for pointing that out because you are 100% wrong. Warp-capable shuttles date back to the original effing series, and I'm so tired of people saying that shuttles don't have warp drives. In the Menagerie, the Enterprise left at warp speed, and Kirk on a shuttle followed them. The difference between the warp drive on a shuttle and a starship is not that shuttles can't go to warp speeds. The difference is that shuttles have limited fuel compared to a starship. Replicators are an option for food, not what everybody uses for food. Clearly, it's the most viable option for space duty on Earth. A higher quality food is the kind you cook. I would agree. New York wasn't never shown at all in Trek. Wait, was there a flashback with Deep Space Nine or Voyager, World War II era? Well, yeah, but World War II, I'm talking about like in the 24th century. Probability that Section 31, the wrongs working together in Picard, I'd say about 60 to 70%. There are 135, higher. Well, now we're down to 129, so, pissed off somebody. Can't wait to see Bird of Prey rip up your speech after your turn of standing State of the Union address. I'm sure he will. And let's see. That dumb anti-trekker, CBS All Access has nothing but dog crap. Okay. When Picard said he didn't like... I'm not sure that was not a complete statement. Darth Arden says, do you think TV service in the future will be a collection of streaming services on a mother box? Something like that, yes. When Picard said he didn't like sci-fi, I was a bit offended. Picard would like sci-fi, and Picard, the show, is supposed to be ideal sci-fi. This hurt Picard show in my eyes. Actually, why would Picard like sci-fi? Honestly, that blows my mind, Aaron, really. And don't get me wrong, and no disrespect intended, but if you want to say that Picard should love sci-fi, then you don't know the character Picard. Look at him through the years. He has always been interested in the classics. He's always been interested in things of the past. Archaeology is his favorite hobby. He loves old stuff. Nothing about him makes me think that he's a futurist. Nothing about him makes me think that he would want to read a science fiction book. So I had no problem with that line whatsoever. It made perfect sense to the character of Picard. Yes, I am old, outdated, busted, obsolete, should be taken behind the woodshed, put down for a dirt nap. Well, okay. I always assume the TNG era Mirandas have been upgraded. The bridge of the Cisco Saratoga TNG era consoles, for example, I imagine their interiors would be up to date. Right, but my point is that the design is 100 years old. And it's not like you can just, the nacelles weren't replaced, so it's still the old warp drive. I don't think it's a failure yet, but there's a chance that it can pick up where 2 episodes in season 1 and 2 of TNG were way worse than this. I'm just annoyed at the grim, gritty nonsense. I don't think it's as grim and gritty as a lot of people do, and I'm working on a video about that very fact. Isn't it weird that we never saw refit Constitution class in combat during the Dominion War, Star Trek 8, or any conflict with Miranda-class ships? Personally, I would have used one. I agree. It pisses me off that we never saw another Constitution-class ship. Outside of the original series, they just, for whatever reason, decided that they don't want to show them. My headcanon is Miranda and Excelsior are the first with the new warp systems that lasted to TNG, but the Connie wasn't capable of higher warp, and that's why it was decommissioned. Except that the problem is that if you look at the warp nacelles on the Excelsior, the warp nacelles look much more reminiscent of what we see in the TNG era. On the Miranda, they look identical to the Enterprise. Hello there, Jugger. Hey, Sci-Fi Sith, how you doing? Tiki of Doom says, seems like you are just justifying it to yourself why you like Picard. Doesn't mean you were right. No, everything I'm saying is in defense of what people are attacking me with. I'm not trying to justify anything. I just said I enjoyed it. But people say, well, what about this? And so I answer. That's not a justification. That's an explanation. Wasn't the Excelsior class still being used 100 years later as they were in the Dominion War sequence as well as other DS9 episodes? That's what I said, is that the Excelsior, I don't know if I'd mentioned the Excelsior, but yeah, the Excelsior and the Miranda class were both in service in the Dominion War. And nobody has a problem with that. And here's the thing. I don't like those shuttles. I am not defending the use of those shuttles. However, people pointed out to me the whole thing with the Miranda and the Excelsior class, and that's right. I can't deny that. So I have to, as far as I still don't like the fact that they're using the old shuttles, but I can't deny that there's not a reasonable in-universe explanation. And Darren says, I assume the components inside the Miranda nacelles were replaced rather than replacing the whole nacelle. Yeah, but the thing is that would be like saying that, you know what, I'm just going to take this Ford Pinto and put a V8 in it. It doesn't work that way. Hey, Mr. Beginning of your channel, can you restart, please? Ha ha ha. No, you didn't, because I know you were here earlier. Howdy, Mr. Friend Buddy. New camera? Nope, I've just been working on tweaking the settings, so it should look a little better. I am the first here at Tricker. If we are starting over, well, we're not starting over. I'm finishing up. Actually, I would have a bit of an issue with a 100-year-old ship in commission, but in fairness, aside from most of Discovery, Deep is the only Trek I haven't fully watched yet, but it feels right. Well, and that's the thing. But we also see Excelsior-class ships all over the place in TNG. In TNG, the Excelsior-class ship was the mainstay of the fleet. The Galaxy-class had just been developed. If the Romulans were enemies again in Star Trek Nemesis, then Commander whatever would have helped the Enterprise E against the Scimitar, except that she was an honorable commander. And like she said, that she thought of this as an internal Romulan matter. I agree with her. However, I think that, and I've always argued that the Romulans are somewhat honorable. Even though I know that, as much as I love General Martok, he would disagree with me on that, but that's okay. General Martok and I, have had some interesting discussions on that off camera, of course. But the thing is that what we don't know is what happened immediately after all this. So this particular Romulan commander helps out the Enterprise. Meanwhile, what's going on? There's a power vacuum on Romulus. Who takes over? Right? The entire Romulan Senate was wiped out. Who is taking over? If whoever takes over is anti-Federation, we're right back in square one. We don't know. And it's a coin toss, 50-50. We don't know who's in charge. All we know is that one Romulan commander was willing to help out the Enterprise. Work Mr. Miles like a Karogan orphan working in the mines. No, I wouldn't work him that hard. I believe Trek is fundamentally far better suited to be episodic rather than long-form serialized format. We get to know the characters better. We need less linear expositions. Your thoughts? I agree. I think that the way I know that the serialized thing is kind of the wave of the future, but yeah. Thank you, Mr. Miles. So Mr. Miles sent the picture of the Klingons howling. That's the one from Hearts of Glory. All right, so let's see. And Darren says, Donatra said that the Empire considers it a matter of internal security. That's true, but here's the thing about that.
Hello, world.
Who is she speaking for? There is no leadership for the Empire. You get what I'm saying? There's no leadership in place when she says that. There is no government working. So she can say that, but unless she personally is assuming command of the entire Romulan government, she can't say that with any kind of certainty, if that makes any sense. And so we don't know. All we know is that the entire Romulan Senate was wiped out, that the Praetor was killed, because that was Shinzon at that point. Shinzon staged a coup and became a dictator, and there was no other active government. So after Shinzon was defeated, who takes over? Maybe she does. Maybe, but you know what? Just because she said that this is a matter of internal security, that may mean that she wants the Federation to get the F out. See what I'm saying? All right, Zarkon puts in a $10 super chat. Says, Miranda's old. What about the Katinga Klingon ship in Enterprise versus way later on Sarcasm? Yeah, some designs are that good. It's the lack of shuttles between Disco and Picard. Yeah, and that's the thing. I just don't like that. The thing is that the Discovery shuttle, I never liked the design. I like the TOS design better than the Discovery shuttle. And unfortunately, so it is what it is. But thank you again, Zarkon. You've been very generous, and I truly, truly appreciate it, especially considering that I know that you just did that because I wasn't going to read any more comments. And so now I got to figure out where is the ship that Thomas was talking about. I think I found it on Discord. Ooh, that's a good one. And so, Thomas, do me a favor, Thomas, send me a message via Twitter and tell me what that is so that I can judge who gets the answer. And so now I got to wait a few seconds for Thomas to send me that message because I'm not even sure what that one is. It looks familiar, but I'm struggling. And so you guys will see it in just a minute. But let's see. Just waiting for Thomas. Let me make sure you didn't already send me a message on it. No, that's Darren's message. Go back here. Oh, there he is. Okay. Thank you, my friend. All right, so now I'm about to show you guys this ship. Whoever is the first person to answer correctly gets a free super chat. So here we go. Ready, guys? On the count of 3. 1, and a bird of prey is here. No, it's not a bird of prey. Here we go. There it is. Timer's going. We'll see if anybody can figure this one out. I didn't know this one, so I admit that let's see. Demo says Decora. That is incorrect. Mr. Morgan says don't know. That's closer. USS Vibrator, Klingon Raptor, Romulan Shuttle, Andorian. Can't even see the ship. Species 8472. No, why would you think that, Roxall? That doesn't even look anything like the bioship. Raptor. John DeMarco. Ding, ding, ding. Nails it. The however you pronounce it. Karamea ship, which is a member state of the Dominion. So, very good, John DeMarco. Very good, my friend. So, you get to pick a super chat for us to sign off with. So, John DeMarco, let me know what super chat you want me to play, and I will play it, my friend. It's so damn small that I could see it fine. I was looking on the other monitor on the stream. You could tell what it was. My messages were grayed out. Well, I don't know why. I don't see there isn't anything grayed out recently, but yeah. John DeMarco says, I'll take number 23. You got it, my friend. There we go, the classic that never dies. So thank you guys for hanging out with me. I do appreciate it. Gosh, we got up to almost 140 people at one point, so that was exciting. And so at least I know that the daytime live streams can still get a decent crowd. Now I just got to work on my middle of the night ones. Oh, jeez. So I am going to try to do a subscriber-only stream. So if you are a patron supporter or a subscriber at antichecker.com, I am going to try to do something a little bit later with that. If possible, I can't guarantee you we're going to get it set up today because I got some technical issues to work through. But in the meantime, and I should be on Midnight's Edge After Dark tonight. Speaking of the Phantom Menace, I'm sure we'll be fighting about something. And so, boy, is that going to... Whew.
Making your way with the nerds today takes everything you've got. Taking a break from hating JJ sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to just get laid?
And of course, Rock Solid likes to make me I love that song, man. Why you gotta make me interrupt that song? It's such a great song. I mean, come on, Rock Solid. That's just mean. And Rockstar says, number 17, Dance Monkey Dance. Wow. Wow.
Hey, you want to learn about Jesus?
There's no such thing as hooker-client confidentiality.
And notice, so that's what Rock Solid likes. Yep, that's Rock Solid's bag right there. Oh, yeah.
Hey, you want to learn about Jesus?
There's no such thing as hooker-client confidentiality.
And Thomas, what did I say about the subscriber stream? I was buffering. I was just saying that I'm going to try to do a subscriber stream, but I still have some technical things I'm trying to work through to make it all work. So I can't promise you I will get the subscriber stream in today. If I can't, then I'll try to do it tomorrow. But then tomorrow we have the Picard stuff, so things are a little hectic around here, to say the least. But yeah, I'm just doing what I can, my friend, and I will be on Midnight's Edge tonight unless they disown me or something. So back to the credits. Have a good one.
Sometimes you wanna go where all the Trekkies know your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna be in a galaxy where Star Trek isn't lame. You wanna go where everybody knows your name. Turds of a feather flock together. That's what.
Rock Solid, you Lovely, lovely person. Feces and Lorehead. All right, so you guys have been nice today, so I'll even play the extended version of Feces and Lorehead for you. But I can never remember, is it 6 or 7? I think it's 7, isn't it?
Spinning Spock has space dyslexia. Next on Sick Sad World.
Laura, this sucks. Let's go get some money. Hi. I'm Feces. This is Lorehead. Can we have some money?
Feces? Loreface? What kind of names are those?
My name is Lorehead, sir. Lorehead. Like, my head is full of lore. Get it?
Yeah. And I'm Feces. Like poop.
Anyway, boys, I sure could use a hand from a couple of strong young lads.
Okay.
You see, I've been stuck in this dang old hospital bed for nigh about a decade now, and I can't adjust it quite right. Can you boys reach that lever under the bed?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's it. Just give it a nice hard yank.
Who said yank?
Yeah.
Hey, baby, come to Lorehead.
Laura, what are you doing with that lever? Come on, man, I want to turn.
Son of a bitch! You stupid kids, you don't ever listen. What the hell am I supposed to do now?
I don't know.
Damn it.
I do love that one. And Zarcom throws $2 in as well, says, "Hey, where's my red shirt? LOL." And Spinning Spork. Spork? And Piano Dean, in answer to your question, the music at the end of Feces and Lorehead, like all the music that I use that's not from you or Aberjam, comes from Epidemic Sound. They are a not exactly free but not outrageously priced service where you can download thousands of royalty-free songs for use on YouTube videos, stuff like that. The only catch with using Epidemic Sound music is that if you use the song and you're not a paid member of Epidemic Sound, they will DMCA you in a heartbeat. However, if you, as long as you pay for their monthly thing, which I think is like $14 a month or something, then you can use all the music you want from them royalty free. And one thing I will tell you is that once they approve a video, that video is approved for life, even if you discontinue your membership, because I actually discontinued it for a while, but the videos that had their music on it in the past didn't suddenly get copyright strikes, but the new videos, if they use those songs, would. And so there you go. And by the way, you want to be careful about wanting a red shirt. Remember, red shirt lives don't matter. All right, back to the credits. You guys have a good one. Take care and all that good stuff.
We believe we know a place that's got you covered, a place to get relief. Wouldn't you like to say me prove? Sometimes you wanna go where turn to steadies know your name, and though Karogans are to blame, you wanna be where you can see Karoga go up in
Wow, rock solid. You must have gotten a pay raise, able to put $3 whole in the chat. Lore makes YouTube go. Of course, that figures. All right, so number 15, I think that is.
Sir, we are being hailed.
On screen. What is your problem?
I am Lore.
Do you need help?
I have a YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is Lore Reloaded.
Let me guess, their rubber band broke, right?
I make YouTube go.
There you go. And by the way, hats off to Lore Reloaded for having a sense of humor and being willing to record that for me. So, Lore is a good friend. All right, guys. So this time, I think that Rockstar would have a difficult time sneaking in another $1 before the credits end. So have a good one, guys, and kaplach.
You son of a bitch, anti-tracker!